Tensions are rising the other side of the channel. I'm just reading some news here, and basically since Tuesday night there have been a number of migrants, 50 actually, were intercepted by police trying to get into dinghies, and it escalated. And it escalated pretty quickly. This was in an area called Grand-Fort-Philippe. The mayor of the city, Sony Clinquart, has called for intervention. This has involved actually concrete bricks being thrown at cars. There's a huge amounts of urban violence, and it's still going on right now. Scenes of violence, urban violence between migrants and law enforcement, but also citizens and residents are now being directly affected. Of course, we're not going to report that over here, apart from on this station, because why would we? You know, all of these people are just poor asylum seekers and totally innocent.
You've missed one of the crucial points here, which is what you said right at the beginning, that this all started with police trying to stop them getting into dinghies. Did you say that?
Yes.
Aren't you amazed? That's really significant. That is
I know, the police are now
the
actually,
French police actually doing something for the many, many, many millions that the British taxpayer actually gives them. So I take it as a good sign that they were actually trying, although we can be pretty much guaranteed that now it's blown up into so much trouble they won't be trying that again. It's also much easier, isn't it, to stand on the shore and wave them off and then make sure that they're escorted into British waters, because that's the normal way of things.
I just want to do a thought experiment with you. Now, I've never had to seek asylum in another country, although that day may come soon. Yeah, indeed.
Where would you go?
There was where would I go, actually?
Somewhere nice like Norway, or...
I think I'd go to Prague.
Would you?
Yeah, they seem sort of level-headed there. It's still in the EU, but they never joined the Euro, right. And they seem quite level-headed over there. And
anyway, we digress.
We digress. Or I was thinking of setting up an alternative government on Lanzarote, taking it by force. But no, I mean, look, there was a brilliant article I was reading the other day about somebody who had been an asylum seeker. And in fact, I had someone message in the show and call me about their parent who had come from Auschwitz,
right,
and had come over here. And when a lot of the Jews were rescued in the Second World War and came over to the UK, they were put in army bases to be processed, and were basically given a bit of bread and you know, a mat on the floor to lie on.
Crack on.
Yeah, and all his life he just said, "I love the English for giving me sanctuary and safety," because
that's real sanctuary that was really, really, really needed.
Now, thought experiment: if you are leaving your country because you're being persecuted, because you're in fear for your life, and are you then going to, when you've got to a safe country like France, so you're no longer in fear for your life, but you might fancy coming to England because, hey-ho, you know, so we all have all sorts of wonderful running knife competitions you can enter over here. Would you, you know, in thanks for being somewhere safe, start lobbing concrete bricks at cars and attacking law enforcement?
I probably wouldn't do that, because then I think I would expect that I might have to seek asylum somewhere else. That said, you know, I just think that these people, many of whom are economic opportunists, have no gratitude whatsoever for the countries that are hosting them. None at all. It is purely transactional. They are picking and choosing where they think they'll get the best treatment, and they expect certain things. And if they don't get certain things, and that includes a blind eye to wherever they want to go, whatever they're doing, then they get pretty shirty.
They get shirty indeed, and I think they must have a you know, some impression that they will get away with being shirty.
Well, I think everything that's happened in the UK in recent weeks, and rather more in recent days, is likely to reinforce that impression, which is one of the reasons why it's so dangerous. You know, if you are only seen to be meting out tough justice to a certain cohort of people and allowing others not to be treated in that way, then you're only going to fuel more division, and that shouldn't be it. Look, justice should be colourblind.
Do you know, it's funny, it's I wouldn't recommend anyone go, but I was in France recently, and on the way to the ferry I took a wrong turn. My sat-nav had got it wrong, and so I ended up sort of driving around some funny sort of back streets. I'd come off the motorway by accident. I was driving around some funny back streets in Calais.
That would have really stressed me out.
And yeah, it still was quite stressful. I won't repeat the expletives that might have been coming out of my mouth. I'd get fined by Ofcom were I to do so. But my other half was sort of absolutely awestruck by what he saw around him, because it was basically everywhere you looked.
Yeah.
There were young migrant men. That was it. I mean, it was just, it was insane. It was sort of like a real shock to the system to drive around and just see the volume.
And that volume, those people they're definitely itinerant. They're not, we can't, in some imaginary land, expect that they're actually settled in that particular village that you were driving through.
Oh no, what
they're
would happen?
definitely waiting to come to the UK.
There was actually a one instance, a sort of food cart which was handing out packages, some sort of Care for Calais operation, one assumes. So there were a lot of people gathered around there. I mean, 50, 60 around there. But then everywhere you went, people on bikes, people walking down the street. Just, I mean, that even I knew there was a problem.
But it was more the scale of it.
It was breathtaking.
I can absolutely feel a talkTV operation coming on here, where we need to go and report from that, you know, just to find out whether it's got worse, got more people in recent weeks. Is this how it's been consistently? It's fascinating, isn't it? Because you know, as you're saying, there's nothing like seeing it for yourself.
Right. And I wonder what all of these sort of organisations, the Care for Calais, make of it all, because in theory they're on the ground, and there have been some reports historically about some pretty awful things happening to some of the people who work for them. I think didn't one young female volunteer get raped or sexually assaulted or something, and then they sort of come out and go like, oh, but you know, our bleeding hearts, these people are misunderstood.
Hot chocolate and blankets.
Yeah, and I think there will be a lot of people actually caught up there who, you know, there'll be a lot of people who have ended up in Calais as pawns in a game that is far bigger than them. A game between hostile states and criminal gangs and mercenaries and organised crime, who genuinely do just want to find somewhere to go and work and have a dream of earning money, sending money home. You know, no one by any means is typecasting everybody who wants to sort of get in a dinghy as some sort of monster. But it seems to me there's a hardening core of young men who are not as cuddly as Care for Calais might make out.
I don't think that it's ever been the case that they've all been cuddly. I think I've often say this, I think it's perfectly reasonable to want to better your life. You know, if you know that Britain is going to let you in and you're going to be able to be looked after, you'll get a roof over your head, you'll get, you know, hotel and accommodation, and it's all very easy, I'd do that. Yeah, of course I would. You know, if I lived in a really tough place and I thought I could make a better life, I'd give it a go.
But then the other thing
I don't blame them for that.
You know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we talk about better life and people fleeing poverty. They are paying people traffickers north of 10 grand, and sometimes they go, well, you know, 10 grand to get initially
if they actually pay that money, though, because it's probably, in many cases, it'll be recouped further along the line.
Right, when they end up in a black market.
I don't know. Look, I understand why people do it, but we are not creating the deterrent to stop that.
Right.
We create far too many pull factors.
Yeah, again, we were talking about social media, weren't we, earlier, and we're all sort of, you know, a bit fearful of the latest sort of twist of dystopia where Sir Keir Starmer and everyone on the left wing sort of rabidly wants to go after X because people are talking, people are exchanging ideas and information, be it false or not, be it opinions people like or not, be it in crude language or not. People are talking. And yet TikTok, which is a platform that is used by the people traffickers to recruit.
Absolutely, it is.
And actually, some of the things they're putting around on TikTok to actually say, oh, you've made it this far, now do you fancy coming all the way to England? Some of the videos they're circulating are saying, have you seen the girls?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to expose that properly then.
Some of these videos are saying, oh, look at the women, these could all be yours.
Great.
And, you know, come to Britain. You know, the pavements are paved with hot women for you to enjoy. And, you know, that, which is an actual advertisement for a transaction. You know, it's platforms like TikTok, which are enabling drug dealers to sell their spice and their cannabis jellies and get people in dinghies. It's platforms like Instagram, which are making kids want to commit suicide and genitally mutilate themselves. And we're not talking about shutting down those platforms or doing anything about those. Oh, no. It's just the one where people go and talk.
Yes, I know, yeah, you make a really good point there. The one where, well, certainly in our circles, it's kind of mostly political debate of reasonable quality. Not all of it, I'm afraid. There are a lot of mudslingers there. I'd like to think they're mostly on one side of argument, not ours. But yeah, why come after that platform? You're absolutely right, all the people on that platform. Pursue that vile stuff that is being circulated and is poisoning young minds and encouraging people to do things that are not in their best interests or, frankly, the interests of society.
Yeah, well, it's in the interest of society that you carry on coming on to talk and giving us your wisdom and keeping me company.
Yeah,
it's always lovely.
Cannabis jellies. Sometime we'll have to talk about cannabis jellies. I had a terrible experience with one of those once.
Did you actually have a cannabis jelly?
I did.
Oh, my goodness.
It was a total...
It's like your Prince Harry moment. You're going to be writing a book called Spare soon.
It was a disaster. We'll talk about it another time. It is a story worth telling.
I can't believe a teaser like that, just as we're about to part ways.
Massive overdose is all I will say.
Wow. Miss Isabel, you do surprise me.